For some reason, our technology soundboard is going live. Yes, I'm so glad I made that big sign that I can read. Welcome to our Facebook, YouTube viewers. We are now in recording mode so that we can share with the rest of the planet virtually. Man, you could do church every day of the week, on YouTube and Facebook. Isn't that wonderful? So maybe part of the blessing in COVID was we got Zoom savvy, Facebook connected, and YouTube learning. That's incredible. So I want to say this kindred spirit that I'm going to announce as our guest speaker shares something in common with me. I have 17 years of working as an organization development consultant, which is your profession, but with the Internal Revenue Service, because they needed me as an executive coach and organizational consultant. Robert Quintana Hopkins, PhD, is a religious science practitioner at the East Bay Church of Religious Science in Oakland, California, a role he has held since 2009. His professional background includes positions as an internal HR leader and an external organization development consultant. He is passionate about using highly participative facilitation methods to help groups and teams work together effectively. And isn't that a beautiful calling? Teamwork. Robert earned a PhD in organizational psychology from the California School of Professional Psychology. In his free time, he gardens, he writes poetry, and facilitates a monthly writing group that uses writing as a tool for healing and personal growth. His book, Glass Closet, Poems and Essays, will be available for purchase following the service, so please check out the book table. Robert lives in San Leandro, California with his 8-month-old puppy, Bernie. I almost said baby, but I'll tell you, puppy love the best. Please welcome Robert.
Thank you.
So glad you're here.
Thank you. Good morning, CSL Monterey. So I'm Robert Quintana Hopkins. I'm a practitioner from the East Bay Church of Religious Science, one of your sister communities within the Centers for Spiritual Living, and it's an honor to be here with you today. Especially an honor to be here in the pulpit of Reverend Robert, who is one of my teachers and someone who I consider to be a mentor and a friend. So thank you, Reverend Robert. My topic today is how it works, the spiritual law of cause and effect. And so within the Centers of Spiritual Living, every year, we begin the year by reviewing the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook, and we do a chapter every week. And so this week, I get to review chapter 3 with you, but I want to quickly summarize the first 2 chapters to kind of set the stage for chapter 3. And so chapter 1 is entitled The Thing Itself. And so Ernest Holmes calls God a thing to remind us that God is a power. It's the substance from which everything is made. He says, the study of the science of mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, the ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself, end quote. And I believe that Holmes calls God a thing to radically shift our thinking. So as humans, we try to fit God into our understanding, right? So and I'm hoping I don't butcher this word, but we tend to anthropomorphize, right? By giving non-human things human characteristics, right? So to fit God into our understanding, we interpret God as a human and we give God human characteristics. But Holmes is trying to shake that up, right? He's saying God is a power, God is everything. So he's telling us that God manifests himself as humans, and at the same time, God is so much more, right? So God is both the creator and the created. It's the substance out of which everything arises. It's the field in which all of existence exists. So this includes me in my life, and it includes you in your life. And so Ricky Byers captures this in her song, Use Me, when she says, "Use me, O God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do." I used to think that God was the sun. God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all. So chapter 2 is entitled The Way It Works. So in this chapter, Holmes tells us that God finds individualized centers of expression through us. And he goes on to say that the thing then works for us by working through us and is us. So it works through us and is us always. It cannot work for us any other way. It spreads itself over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle. But it can only become power to us when we recognize it as power, end quote. So what Holmes is telling us is that God operates through our beliefs. That is how it works. Our thoughts and beliefs are creative because the universal law responds to our thoughts and our beliefs. So there's a direct correlation between our beliefs and our experiences. The good we experience in life is a result of what we accept or what we're receptive to. So when we believe we're one with God, that there's no separation between us and God, that God manifests itself as each and every one of us, we can let go of the image of God as something separate outside of ourselves, something up in the sky. And when we believe in the unity of all life, which we know from the indigenous wisdom includes all of nature, right, all animals, it allows us to surrender to the indwelling God that uses us to do its work in the world. And so returning to Ricky Byers, she also reflects this in her song, Use Me, when she says, God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. Use me, O God. I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands. What must they do? Command my life. It's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. And God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. I cannot sing. That is why you heard me reading through that. I'm not even going to attempt to sing it. And so now that gets us to chapter 3, which is our chapter for today. And so our chapter is What It Does. And Holmes says the universe is impersonal. It gives to all alike. It is no respecter of persons. It values each alike. Its nature is to impart, ours to receive, end quote. In other words, the universe or God gives us all that we can receive. And so when we put the 3 chapters together, we see that this unlimited, all-encompassing power that we call God manifests itself as all creation, including us, each one of us. It operates through us, using the law of cause and effect by responding to our consciousness, bringing into our experience all that we can accept and receive. So Jesus described this as, "It is done unto you as you believe." So let's explore this through what I consider to be a helpful framework, and that's head, heart, and feet. Or what are we called to know, feel, and do? So we're called to know our relationship with the divine. So to know the truth of our being, our unity with spirit. And I believe that this happens at least at 3 levels. And so at the first level is the intellectual level. And that's where we read books, or maybe we take classes, listen to sermons. And at this level, we understand concepts, and we can repeat words and phrases. And this is a great place to start. You've probably heard the phrase, "fake it until you make it," right? So in this form of knowing, we're continually learning and growing in our understanding. And then second, there's the level of experience. At this level, you can say with confidence, "Ask me how I know." So here we know how God has worked in our lives, not because of what any writer or preacher or teacher has told us, but because we have firsthand experience. Right? So perhaps you had a healing in your body temple. Perhaps God made a way out of no way when your bank account said there was no way. Or if you're like me, perhaps you earned a PhD and became a graduate school professor when the circumstances of your childhood indicated that you were more likely to end up in prison, in jail, or on drugs. One of my role models is Harriet Tubman, and she exemplifies the 3rd level of knowing. So everything around her told her that she was property, right? So the legal system, her circumstances. Yet deep inside, she knew something else. She knew that freedom was her true nature. And so she knew this not because somebody told her, right? Or not because she had experienced freedom before, but because she was already free in her own mind. So she had an inner knowing that urged her to risk her life and go towards something called freedom in the north, right? So a place she had never been, a place she had never seen. So this level of knowing is not rational. It relies on intuition and faith. So at whatever level of knowing that we're utilizing, we're called to turn away from circumstances and appearances and know that all things are possible because we are one with the only power that exists. And ask me how I know. So that's what we are called to know. So now let me talk about what we're called to feel. We're called to feel gratitude, expectancy, and trust. In addition to our thoughts and beliefs, our energetic field boosts our manifestation. Speaking our word with conviction and faith tells the universe we are mental equivalents to that which we are affirming. So when I can feel what I'm affirming, it tells the universe that I know that what I'm affirming is already true. So now let's talk about what we're called to do. So in this philosophy, we say that we treat and move our feet. So that means that we're so convinced that the new house is ours that we put in an offer, right? It means that when we're confirming the new health outcome, we take the medicine, we have the surgery, we exercise, we change our diet, we align our actions with the manifestation that we affirm to be true, right? Now, I'm imagining some of you all may be thinking, well, all this is fine and well, Robert, but when I turn on my TV, I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on in the world, right, that's not very positive. So I want you to remember earlier I read the quote from Ernest Holmes, and he said that the law is no respecter of persons. So that means that the law responds to all the same. So it's objective, it simply responds to what we put into it. So the same law can be used for healing and abundance. It can also be misused when fear and hatred are the energizing thoughts. So this is when our regular spiritual practice comes in. So we're called to know the truth with a capital T, regardless of appearances. So when there's an experience of lack, we know our work is an inner work, right? It's a work in consciousness. So we don't accept the appearance of not enough. Instead, we remember the truth with a capital T, which is that we live in an abundant universe. So there's money everywhere. It's in banks, lots of it in banks. It's in some of you all's pockets right now, in your purses, in your wallets. Some people have it under their bed. There's coins, you walk down the street, there's coins on the ground, getting trampled on. There's money everywhere, right? We know that there's enough food. There's so much food that there's grocery stores and restaurants and families who are throwing food away every day. There's housing for everyone. There's houses sitting vacant right now. There's a landlord somewhere right now praying, I need a tenant, right? And so we turn our thought and attention away from the circumstances, and instead we remember the universal truth. That universal truth is unchanging, it's always true, regardless of temporary experience or circumstance. So how do we do that? By aligning our thinking with God, with universal truth, by engaging in spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, affirmation, gratitude. We can do this for ourselves, and we can do this together. Our own spiritual practice builds our spiritual muscle, and I consider it our proactive work, the ways that we keep ourselves spiritually fit and strong so we can navigate the world with faith. Jesus called this being in the world but not of it, which means we physically live in this world, but our consciousness is aligned with spiritual truth. And sometimes our circumstances are so overwhelming, it's hard to know the truth ourselves. So that's when we practice together. Perhaps we reach out to a practitioner and ask for prayer, or we call a friend and pray with a friend. I'm co-chair of the board at East Bay Church, and we begin each meeting with spiritual practice. So either we chant together, or use an affirmation, or do meditation, and we always begin each meeting with each person voicing their intention for the meeting, because we know that our intentions are creative, that the universe comes, the law makes them so. So whether it's alone or in community, we navigate this life through spiritual practice. And that's what I love about our philosophy. It's an applied philosophy. So we are the Centers for Spiritual Living. So we're expected to live this philosophy. So my spiritual teachers used to say, we can tell what you believe by what shows up in your life. They said that because, like a mirror, the law always reflects back what we're thinking and feeling. They knew that our inner work shapes our outer world by showing up as our experiences. So as I begin to close, I'm here today to tell you that the universe is calling us to lean into our potential. And we do that by intentionally expanding our mind and our awareness of the divine, by supercharging what we know to be true, by also feeling it at the core of our being. So we don't only want to know it here, we want to know it here, and we want to know it here. We want to know it in our heart and in the core of our gut. Yes. And after we supercharge it, we want to confidently take action so that we live a life filled with love and joy, peace and abundance. So I've just spent probably the last 15 to 20 minutes talking about how it works. And I've reminded you that there is a spiritual law of cause and effect that responds to your thoughts and consciousness and produces your experience. I also want to remind you that our task is to focus on what we want, not how it will manifest. Your wise minister reminded me of this recently. So we allow the universe to produce the how. And I'd like to share a few personal examples. About 5 months ago, I became a dog dad. You heard of Bernie, who is a Labradoodle-Bernedoodle mix. And after about 10 years of graduate school, so I worked full-time while going to graduate school, so it took me a minute. But once I finished my degree about 3 years ago, I decided, I was like, I want to rediscover fun. Like, all of my free time was working on my dissertation. So I was like, I need to rediscover what is it like to have fun? Like, what do I like to do? Like, what do I enjoy? And so I set the intention to invite more fun into my life. What I didn't know is that some of that fun would manifest as sitting on my kitchen floor with an 8-month-old Bernedoodle playing. Or that it would involve being in the backyard with him, throwing the ball around, playing catch, right? And so this is an example of how it works. I set an intention to expand my experience of fun, and then the universe responded by increasing my experience of play in a way that I never would have imagined. Even my presence here with you today, I believe, is law in action. I've been privately contemplating ministerial school for several years and have only recently started voicing it to others. And so I believe Reverend Robert's invitation is part of the perfect unfoldment of that journey of ministerial school. And I don't have to know what school I'm going to go to, or when I'm going to start, or how I'm going to pay for it. My job is to do the inner work, to let go of all the obstacles I make up in my head, right? And say yes to Spirit, so the Spirit can say yes to me. So saying yes to Spirit often requires that we move out of our comfort zone, that we try something new, something unfamiliar, that we transform. So luckily, we're not on this journey of life alone. We're surrounded by role models and both formal and informal teachers. We can draw on their wisdom as an example as we navigate life. And I'd like to invoke the memory of 2 teachers who are now ancestors. One is my father, who made his transition about a year ago, and I'd like to share a poem that he was the inspiration for. And the poem is entitled, "A Recipe for Manhood." Like most great recipes, this one, until now, was never written. Passed down historically through observation, modeling, witnessing, experience, and stories. The near-perfect combination of a few simple ingredients: presence, responsibility, generosity, vision, and commitment. This family recipe has been shared for generations, from man to man to man. Living examples like Uncle George, who frequently drove over 700 miles from Ogden, Utah to Stockton, California, reliably present at birthdays, graduations, and reunions, calling us to gather for mundane weekend visits. Legendary examples like Papa Jim, who raised his niece after his sister died, and then raised his niece's 2 children, an inspiring story of uncle turned father and grandfather. This recipe is for all men, black men and brown men, queer men, straight men, bi men, trans men, cis men, fathers, uncles, brothers, sons, cousins, friends, young men, old men, drunk men, incarcerated men, free men, women who boldly embody the male spirit. The recipe is simple: Step 1, be a positive presence for those around you, especially the children. Step 2, take responsibility to care for yourself, the extended family, and broader community. Step 3, generously share with others. Step 4, preserve resources for future generations. Step 5, stay committed. No matter how hard it gets, never give up. Quantities are flexible. Use what you have on hand. Make the recipe for manhood your own. So in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, I'd like to share 2 of his quotes. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." CSL Monterey, you are the light and the love that the world needs right now. King also said, "Only in the darkness can you see the stars." In the midst of the injustices we see happening all around us, racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, and anti-immigrant bias, may we continue to know the truth and be a source of light as we collectively work to create a world that works for everyone. Thank you. So if you will join me for a prayer. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes and turn within. And I always love this part of prayer, the turning in part, because it reminds me that God is inside of me. It reminds me of the indwelling God, that the only power that exists in the universe, the one life, the one mind, the one source, is one with me. And I know that this is true for each and every one of you. Those of you here in the sanctuary, those of you who are watching online, we are all one in spirit. And so I speak my word, blessing each and every congregant at CSL Monterey. I'm knowing that your lives are abundantly blessed. I'm blessing your finances. I'm blessing your relationships. I'm blessing your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health. I'm knowing everything that you need in your personal life to thrive, for wellness, for joy, for love is provided in this very moment. I'm knowing that everything that you need in your community life is provided in this moment. I'm declaring that your cup is full and runneth over, that everything that you desire, the answer is yes. And so I'm giving thanks for the long history in this community, the light that you are within Monterey, within the state of California, and for the world. So I'm so grateful to be here with you today, for the opportunity to share this word, for the opportunity to know the truth, for the opportunity to be your brother. I release this word into the perfect activity of law, and I know that the law always produces what I declare, and I'm declaring absolute perfection right here and right now. I release and let go and allow it to be, and so it is.
Did you hear something that touched your heart?
Oh, yes.
That quickened your spirit?
Yes.
That expanded you in some way, that you leave this place uplifted, energized, and inspired to do good in the world? Our theme here at this center is expect the best,
Yes.
because it's always coming through the door and entering into our life in some shape or form, because spirit is everywhere.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Robert,
Thank you.
for that amazing message.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing from you when you become your reverend.
Okay.
I see that in your future very clearly. You got it. So one of the things that that we do at the end of every talk is we speak an affirmation, and we say it at least 2 times, maybe 3 for good measure. So this week's weekly affirmation is, I co-create powerfully for the good of all. So let's say that together. I co-create powerfully for the good of all. So one more time. I co-create powerfully for the good of all. Yay. Imagine if we lived our life that way always. Who knows the ripple effect of your presence in the world? So one of my favorite spiritual practices is giving. Now, I know many people have reaction to the word tithe, 10% tithe. So let's erase that and remember why we give. Because this spiritual community exists for good, for the best, for everyone who enters or joins us virtually. So the practicality is it takes money to run a church, pay for the utilities. So I would just invite you to think about, from the heart space we give to where we are spiritually fed and nurtured. And that could be a waitress that gives you good service. It doesn't have to be, quote, church. Or it could be an organization that has uplifted your life through their particular mission that's made your world a better place. So join with me as we say our abundance affirmation and think about it from how it touches into your own personal heart space. I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. So as the usher passes the basket, I want you to remember that, we give in terms of money, but we also give in terms of our own love. So just pass your hand over the basket and send it a lot of love and abundance and expansion. We have many different ways to make it easy for you to contribute to this community. You can go onto our website, montereycsl.org, and press the donate button. It's very simple to do. You can be old school and write out a check. Yes, people still write checks out. I do. And bless it and put it in an envelope and mail it to our center at 400 West Franklin Street. And of course, the really cool way to give is you just get your cell phone out and text to give like Amber does. It takes her like 10 seconds to do on her phone. Very high tech. And the text to give number, 831-246-9694. Takes a quickie little setup to put your credit card in, but then after that, you just hit the text to give button, put in an amount, and boom, it's done. I love that. I like easy. So with our next week, we have one more week. Week 4 in January. It's going to be ancestral wisdom, new thought, and Reverend Robert will be back to deliver that exciting talk. And know that this month has been a very special launching month, I think, because we've gotten the first 4 chapters of the textbook, but in kind of a different way that to me feels real like a call to action to live your best life. So come back next week to hear about chapter 4. I'm trying to figure out what's next, announcements. So we say bye-bye. Oh, Reverend Cindy, sorry. We have a very special announcement from our president of the board, Reverend Cindy Harp. Online, yes? Yeah, virtual from Mariposa. How great is that?
Up here in the high country. Hello, boomers and zoomers and everybody else. I have some exciting news. As you all know, we recently put our building on the market. It's time to grow into a new space. And I'm here to tell you that we have just signed an offer, full cash offer for the asking price. We are 64 days away from a new home. And I think it's time to celebrate, yes, but also to do exactly what Robert said in his talk. And that is to start to envision a bigger experience, a new experience, to transition into a space that has more abundance in the form of people, experiences, things to do together in this beloved community. So I will leave the rest for Reverend Robert to commence next week. But I would ask us each to do as I am doing in my private time, to close my eyes, to get quiet, and to envision what my perfect space feels like. Who's sitting next to me? What is the light like? What kind of activities are we participating in together? And as things come through to you, just jot them down. And I understand next week there will be some diaries passed out. You can transfer your notes to your diary, but we'll also be discussing them together to form our new experience. But for now, we celebrate. We know that this is the perfect offer because guess what? We bought this building 50 years ago from the Presbyterian Church, and it is being bought now by a Presbyterian church. So we're going full circle. It will still be a church, and I know that was a concern for many. So our beautiful sanctuary will continue as a beautiful sanctuary, but it will also grow. I will now turn this back over to our beloved Denise to complete our day. But I hope you're as happy and excited about this as I am. Thank you.
You know, we have a high prosperity consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine somebody saying, oh, commercial buildings, they'll take 1 to 2 years to sell, and yours is like a white elephant because it's unusual. 2 weeks on the market, full cash offer. The perfect church to come back to. Presbyterians, we're giving it back to the Presbyterians. I think that that is an amazing demonstration, don't you? And it frees our little community to morph into something different, a contemporary offer in this community, but in a new way, a new space, who knows? But go into the silence and ask Spirit for guidance and a new vision, because we're going to pull all those fabulous downloads and become something amazing. And I know that this can be kind of a scary, unknown, and unsettling transition. But I think in transition, wonderful things open up. We just have to have the faith that when Bill Bridges talks about being in the dark hallway and knowing you've left behind the old, but you don't know what you're entering into the new. And so that dark hallway can be scary. But you know what? Opening doors can be exciting. So let's sit in the mystery of co-creating together. It will bring us into a greater sense of our power as a spiritual community, because we demonstrate all over the place. So it's your opportunity to start living it in a new way by flexing that faith muscle, yeah? So join us next Sunday. It's going to be an exciting Sunday. We do have every fourth Sunday spiritual discussion circle. Should prove to be very intriguing, what reveals. And know that the process of unfolding and unveiling the mystery of what's next can be an exciting opportunity, as long as we go from fear to faith. So we practice. We practice getting our arms around this announcement, this new idea. It's real. And so we just step out. Baby steps equals progress. 1 minute miracle prayer. We'll say goodbye to our Facebook and YouTube audience. Join us next week. The title of the talk is Cause and Effect in the Sweetgrass. And if you haven't read the book, Braiding Sweetgrass, it's a beautiful book. I have it on my nightstand. Many of the references of the talks this month have been from Braiding Sweetgrass. Highly recommend it. So farewell to our virtual audience, and come back next week.